Well, good evening everyone. It's Sunday in time for a new episode of Record Collecting with the Quill. The theme for today is heavy favorites. I was checking back and realized that I've been a little bit on the soft side in most of my themes. So this week we're going heavy, and I'm picking some of my favorite albums and using the term heavy in maybe a little broader perspective. It's not going to be all heavy metal. But before we start, you know the drill. Make sure to subscribe and hit that little notice bell, and also share with your friends so we can get this page to grow bigger and get a bigger budget, and I can buy more records, and it's a win-win situation for all of us, isn't it? Well, starting out, the first album I picked was a couple of friends of ours. I picked this one, the first Candlemass album, Epicus Domicus Metallicus. This was a really important album for the whole doom genre. And Leif Edling is an old friend of the Quill. He released a 10-inch EP 20 years ago on his own label he had there for a while called Frog House. So he's a dear friend of ours, and he's made some amazing stuff with Candlemass over the years, but I picked this one, the first one, because I'm really fond of the singer here, Johan Landqvist. He did this album as a session singer, and he never played live with the band, and he never toured with them, and he became almost like a mythical figure in the Candlemass camp. But then he rejoined the band a couple of years ago, and they did a fantastic album together, which I'm really fond of, and I've also seen them a couple of times since then, and I've seen them before a bunch of times. But a great band, and there's some fantastic tracks on this one. Leif is a fantastic songwriter, always been. And if you haven't heard this one, if you're into heavy music, I guess you have heard it, but if you haven't heard it, you should give it a good listen. It's fantastic, as I said, great songwriting. Solitude, you have Crystal Ball, you have Underdog. Yeah, there's so many great tracks here. This is a really nice reissue also with a bonus CD, a live show from Birmingham, 1988. So, cool one. Next one, we're going to Germany. We're talking heavy. You have to mention these guys, Accept, and this is the Balls to the Wall album. I was actually kind of a little bit scared of this album as a kid. The whole image was a little bit frightening, and the sounds in Balls to the Wall and everything. But Accept that they've been around for ages and done tons of quality stuff. And I picked this one because it's the first one I've heard as a kid. Really nice. The title. What really stands out for me is the guitar sound. I love the guitar sound of this album, and I think it was sort of you can find basically the same guitar sound on Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil. I think they listened quite a lot to this one when they dialed in the tone for the Shout at the Devil album. But great album from a great band. Next one. These guys, Slayer, they're no longer active, unfortunately, but they're a great band, and usually people mention Rain in Blood, and it's a great album, but that's a really fast one. I'm quite fond of this one, South of Heaven, the follow-up album. And what I really love about Slayer, and what I think makes them a little bit different from other bands in this genre, is the drummer Dave Lombardo. I think he has a really nice swing to his playing, and is really creative as well. And it's a shame I only got to see them once, and it was during the last farewell tour, and he wasn't on drums. There were band politics, I guess. So it's a shame, but he's really important to all those albums, and his playing, he's sort of a groundbreaker when it comes to aggressive drumming. But this is a cool one, some great tracks. I love the title track, I love the riff for Alive and Dead, and yeah, fantastic band. Next one, if you're talking heavy, you have to mention these guys, but I picked maybe a little bit of a different album. Of course, Black Sabbath, you have to mention, but this is an album, this is this is the reunion album, Dehumanizer, that he did with Ronnie James Dio in 1992, I believe. And this was an album I wasn't too fond of it when it came out. The sound was a little bit different. The cover is corny, but that's kind of typical Sabbath. Thinking about Born Again and other albums as well, but this is an album that's been growing ever since it came out on me, and it's one of the Black Sabbath albums I listen to the most nowadays. Now I love the sound. It's super heavy, it's really dry, the drums are really dry, which makes it sound really different from other albums from this time. Some great songs: Computer God, I, Letters from Earth, After All, and this is a really nice vinyl edition, and this is an original vinyl edition. It's kind of hard finding on vinyl, but I shelled out some serious money for it, had to have it because it's Black Sabbath. I bought it on CD when it came out, but I prefer it on vinyl, of course. Next one, new metal was really not my thing, or is really not my thing, but this is an album I'm really fond of. Korn, Untouchables. This is absolutely the heaviest album I have in my entire collection. If you crank this too loud, your speakers have a hard time playing the tracks. They're almost cracking. I don't know, they detuned to, I don't know what it is, I haven't looked it up, but I think it's maybe G or something. Super heavy. What I really like about Korn, they have a really identifiable sound. You hear immediately when it's Korn, and it's music made for large jumping festival crowds. And this is a great album, as I said. It's produced and mixed by Michael Beinhorn, fantastic producer. I think he die a couple of years ago. I don't know. I'll have to look it up later. I think he did, actually. But anyway, a great album, and if you haven't heard it, check it out. You're in for a big surprise, but as I said, don't have your speakers set too loud when you start to crank it up, because it's, as I said, super heavy. Next one. What can you say about this one? This is one of my all-time favorite albums, Painkiller by Judas Priest. The first album they did with Scott Travis on drums. And it was sort of back to form for Judas Priest after a few weaker albums with a lot of synthesizers and stuff. But here you have Scott Travis, and he's making his mark immediately with a fantastic drum intro to Painkiller. But there's tons of great heavy tracks on this one. You have A Touch of Evil, I really love, Nightcrawler, All Guns Blazing, really great stuff. What's kind of interesting as well is I learned just a year ago so that Don Airey is featured here as a keyboard player, but he mentioned in an interview that he's actually doing all the bass parts as well on a keyboard, because apparently Ian Hill was sick or something and couldn't make the recording, so all the bass parts are actually keyboard bass. But it doesn't matter, it's still heavy. As a bass player, I'm not too fond of that idea, but if it works, it works, and what came out was a great album, so I'm not one to argue about that. Anyway, super cool, and this is also kind of hard finding. You have to shell out a little bit of money to have it on the original issue on vinyl, but it's cool. It's mandatory to have in your collection if you're into heavy music. The next one, the last one, my last pick, is a little bit of a different heavy, but this is a fantastic album you have to listen to if you haven't heard it. This is old blues guy, Buddy Guy, and the album is called Sweet Tea. It was actually Christian, who our guitar player, who turned me into this album when it came out. I think it's like, I don't know, 15-20 years ago. This is the heaviest blues album you can ever get, and it's a great recording. I really love the sound of the whole album. It's super dirty and really heavy, and the It starts out with only a Buddy and a guitar, the first track, but the second track, when the whole band joins in and starts out with a super detuned bass, that's heavy for you. It's, as I said, I mentioned a lot of heavy albums here before, but this is the one to get. So if you haven't heard it, check it out. It's a fantastic album. Buddy Guy, Sweet Tea. Well, that's it for now, but please leave your comments in the comment section. What are your favorite heavy albums? I love getting to hear your opinion and also finding new music for myself. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And I also will put all these, a couple of tracks from each album on the Spotify playlist. You'll find the link down below so you can check them out if you want to do so. And also make sure you follow us on social media. It's the QUILL Sweden. It's only 2 weeks away. We're doing our first show here in my hometown of Oskarshamn. We're actually playing the whole Earthrise album from beginning to end. So that's going to be a little bit of an adventure, I guess. But it's going to be super cool. And also make sure we have a bunch of other tour dates coming up. So make sure you follow us on social media so you get all the latest news. So that's it for now. Cheers everyone, and see you all again next week. Bye.